Hey you guys, welcome back to Fins and Whiskers. If you're new here, make sure you boop that subscribe button in the snoot and we'll get on to the video. Since this is our 100th video, we are going to do that. I'm going to be reacting to your enclosures. The way this works, I just like giving my own opinion and advice to you, and if it helps you in any sort of way or the gerbils, that's my intention. I'm not a fan of rating systems or stars or numbers or gerbils. I just want to help you guys, so that's what we're gonna do. Now this one is from Natalie, and she states that this is an older photo, but everything is basically the same. It is a 40-gallon breeder, and it was recommended from her vet to be a barred enclosure due to one of their gerbils having a chronic respiratory issue, and they cleared up after the switch. So now that was for an older gerbil. Now she has different gerbils in that enclosure. Okay, so first of all, this tank, well, this caged enclosure, where did you get it? What is it called? And how can other people get it? Because, oh my god, it fits a whole tank. There's a tank in the enclosure, you guys. I don't know if it's incredible how you fit a whole enclosure, a fish tank inside of that cage. Amazing. And you have two wheels. One is very much larger than the other one, and two wheels aren't necessary for gerbils because they often use them at different times. However, I have seen them run together, which is interesting. But still amazing that you give them options to have more than one wheel, keeping their water dish and all of the things that bedding could destroy away from the bedding, because as we know, gerbils love to cover everything in bedding. So it's amazing. I don't think I have any suggestions for you at all. I want to know where you got it and what store, what's the name of the cage, because it's amazing. And if you did any, definitely let us know. So this next one is a video, so I'm going to watch the video, my immediate reaction to the video, and then I'll comment. And wow, okay. One gerbil is already running in this video. I am already so happy. You found an amazing way to divide their bedding. Now they say their enclosure is 120 centimeters by 60 centimeters as the base and 50 centimeters the height. And they have a 12-inch wooden wheel, and they use aspen mixed with paper bedding and hay. A lot of people in my comments are always wondering how can they effectively keep the bedding away from their wheel and everything else, because it's just so difficult sometimes without having a proper divider or having to have a cage topper, which is not always easy to set up either. But now the only thing I want to ask you once again, another question instead of me saying things to you, what are you using for a lid? Because a lot of people also struggle with finding a lid that works for them, especially if you don't have an enclosure that comes with one or is solid and can't be used because of the ventilation. So let us know what you're using as a lid and what has worked for you. You did an amazing job. I love the bendy bridges. I love that they have so many hides and the way that you can see them in even in their burrows. However, it's amazing that your gerbils haven't taken the seeds out of the pods already. Mine always just immediately destroy those pods. Like, it's always gone. Never long enough to have a video where they're running and doing other things other than eating them, so that's amazing. The next one is an Ikea Detail with a raised lid, and they have a 28 centimeter wheel and it's attached to that lid. So I'm sort of confused by the raised lid enclosure, like it's just a bit taller. It doesn't look like it has a lid, and so I think what they meant by a raised lid is that they pretty much made the glass a bit higher. However, there doesn't seem to be a lid, at least it must be invisible to me. I would recommend having one because gerbils are very active and they are jumpy. They literally are acrobats or acrobatic and they can easily just one day decide to whoop over the fence, and you don't want to risk that happening and whatever, finding them or worse, I don't know. But I would definitely recommend getting a lid. Otherwise, the amount of bedding is amazing. I love the variety of substrate that you're using. Well, obviously soil is safe for gerbils, but you want to make sure that it's not been treated with anything like pesticides. Now, I'm not assuming that it's something that does have toxic things in it, just letting everyone know that if you are going to use soil, be careful about what they put in the soil if you're getting it from a place like Home Depot, because you really want to read the labels and make sure that it has nothing toxic or pests in the sand or pesticides used. In that case, you would want to bake it just to be sure. But otherwise, I think the enclosure is great. I'm just a little worried about the lid. The next one has two male gerbils. They are called Cypress and Oak, and they have a 30-gallon tank. And both boys are about 6 months old. Now, okay, so let's see what's going on here. Okay, so first thing, I noticed that you don't really have any form of exercise for them. That could be a wheel, which would be the best option. Exercising, especially in a small enclosure, is very important for gerbils to have. And so I would definitely recommend getting a wheel. The minimum is a 6.5, however, 6.5 inch wheel or a bigger one will be much better than having none. Now, if you're having problems keeping any sort of wheel or exercise or water dish because not having a divider, which is pretty tricky to do in a 30-gallon, which is why I usually recommend having a cage topper for their sand bath and their wheel and water, because this way you can avoid them just covering it in bedding and not being able to use those things. So I would definitely recommend you to do that. And otherwise, I love that you have so much variety of substrate. Once again, in these videos, amazing variety and a lot of bedding. So main things I would suggest is getting a wheel and having a cage topper for that wheel, because it will likely just be covered in bedding and you're going to have a hard time making it usable for them. If not, you have amazing, formal, elegant gerbils. And you're lucky if you don't need a cage topper, but definitely get a wheel. Now, it's important when you're picking a wheel for it to not be a very soft plastic, because gerbils can destroy plastic within a day. So you definitely don't want to get one of the cheaper plastic wheels if you're gonna go with that route. When choosing a wheel, they tend to be cheaper than wooden wheels, which is my personal favorite. And so you don't need a wooden wheel, but just don't get a plastic that is too thin. And I will put a picture of one that is too thin, usually. Now, some people have had luck with this wheel, but since you have no wheel, I think it would be more worth it to not find out the hard way. that the plastic, they will chew it. So yeah, go for a hard plastic or a wooden wheel if you can. Those are going to be very helpful for you when choosing wheels for gerbils. Because unlike hamsters, gerbils like chewing like crazy. Like hamsters do like chewing, but just not as much as gerbils. This one is from Maya, and they have 1-year-old gerbils. Their names are Oreo and Cookie. Their cage measurements are 48 centimeters by 59 centimeters. They're in separate cages. They have a bottom cage almost filled with 30 centimeters of substrate and a topper with water and food. They feed them the Gerbil mix with some hay. Now, okay, let's get into it. Before I comment on the enclosure, I just want to say that while Gerbil mix is very famous and recommended as best, I would say, that you could get your hands on, they actually have a lot of fillers and they're not the healthiest for your gerbils. I have a video where I recommend a few brands. I'm not sure if they're available to you, but if they are, that would be great to switch them over. I also have a video on how to make your own food mix, but that's not for everyone, and that's okay. Just do check out the brands that I recommended, because if you can get your hands on them, I would absolutely recommend switching them to that. It's a lot better for them in ingredients wise. Now, since gerbils are social animals, and you mentioned that you have them in separate cages, maybe you are in the process of bonding and trying to bond them so that they can coexist together. I'm not sure, you didn't say anything about that, but let me know. I know that it can be very hard to introduce gerbils if they weren't already together, whether that be from a good breeder or that they were siblings. Now, since you mentioned that they're both 1, that's still an early age and a hopeful age to start the process of bonding gerbils so that they can have each other, because gerbils are very social animals and it is part of their behavior to be in groups. So I would definitely recommend either getting them partners or trying to partner up Oreo and Cookie. I think I just misread this whole thing. I think the cages are separate, not the gerbils. Anyways, that's the advice I would give. If that were the case, I think I misread. Let me know. If it's the case, then take the advice. If that's not the case, then I guess you don't need to hear it. But I think they meant the cages. Now onto the enclosure. I think it looks amazing. You said it was separate cages, and I want to know if you made them or if they're in stores, because if they're in stores, again, it would be lovely to be able to give the name of it and where you found it for people who are looking for enclosures when it comes to gerbils. The only thing I don't see is a wheel, and I would definitely recommend having a wheel because they need the exercise. Even though they have levels, they still don't have a length of space, which is very important, and so wheels help a lot with them being able to run and not bump into the edges of their cage. So definitely, again, would recommend a wheel. Otherwise, I love that you have a variety of substrate. Once again, I'm super proud of y'all for all the substrates. And yeah, those would be my recommendations.